See you next time here at Chase Place in Chase Australia.
Tonight in 7 News, Collingwood faces up to bombshell findings of systemic racism, but Eddie Maguire rejects calls for him to quit now. Victorians stranded again, trapped in Perth as WA locks down to stop a dangerous hotel quarantine breach. The Prime Minister pushing to vaccinate every Australian by October as he declares big COVID spending is over. A mother of 2 killed in her home. She was 4 weeks pregnant. Bikie boss Toby Mitchell given a second chance after he attacked a homeless man only to be knocked out. And later, the COVID vaccine rollout. Your questions answered. A special medical report.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Eddie Maguire is rejecting calls to immediately stand down as Collingwood president after a damning report identified systemic racism within the club. Instead, he vowed to stay on to deal with the issue, declaring it a proud day for the club and saying the world will follow its example in tackling prejudice.
The bombshell report highlighted what is called systemic racism, but a president under pressure claimed it was a landmark day for his club.
I don't think there's any shame or any disappointment in what's going on here. As I said right from the outset, this is a day of pride.
Some critics told the Collingwood Review racism was so entrenched it appeared to be part of the club's DNA. What is clear is that racism at the club has resulted in profound and enduring harm to First Nations and African players. The racism affected them, their communities, and set dangerous norms for the public.
The whole world's looking into this. You either decide you're on the good side of this or you're not. No, we're on the good side of this.
The review has called for major changes from the top down in recruitment and club policies.
There is not a workplace in this country that should not be having this conversation.
Eddie Maguire's board received the report shortly before he announced this year would be his last after 33 in charge, but he won't go early.
What's happened on my watch is this. We've built a fantastic club. We have commissioned this report.
The report also highlights racist incidents involving the Pies, some dating back more than 50 years. They include the booing of Carlton champion Sid Jackson and the abuse of Saint Nicky Winmar by Pies fans. Heretia Lumumba, whose claims of racism at the club sparked the review, was not among the 30 people interviewed. Lumumba declined to take part in the review and has yet to see the report. He's suing Collingwood in the AFL for failing to provide a safe workplace due to racial abuse. The Pies have been urged to apologise to and even compensate victims of racism.
I've got great confidence in the club and what they're doing. I'm proud of this club and I love being a part of this club. We all evolve and we all learn more as time goes through.
The report's authors praised the club for initiating the review, describing it as a brave and unflinching step forward.
We went out of our way to hold the mirror up to ourselves, to go hard and hard and hard.
All the recommendations will be implemented.
And Cameron Bowe joins us now. Cameron, the AFL is going through this report now.
Mitch, the league believes now is the time for transparency, honesty and action when it comes to tackling racism. The league is reviewing that report. So what began with a sole focus on Collingwood may well provide positive change for the entire league and even beyond, Mitch.
Docklands, thank you. Hundreds of Victorians are again stranded interstate, trapped in Perth by a snap border closure. Officials have confirmed a hotel quarantine worker has the highly contagious UK strain of the virus, but so far it hasn't spread.
Empty streets, highways and beaches deserted. The only activity at testing stations. Perth is back in lockdown after a hotel quarantine guard contracted the highly infectious UK strain of COVID. But day one brought positive news.
Overnight, Western Australia has recorded no further local cases of COVID-19.
Still, Victoria has declared the affected areas red zones, meaning hundreds of Victorians already in Perth are now stuck there.
And no doubt about it, that is difficult, but by the same token, we need to ensure that we don't have another round.
One plane from Perth was in the air when the lockdown was announced.
I think we just dodged a bullet.
But along with 1,700 others who've arrived from Perth since January the 25th, he'll be contacted by health officials. They'll all have to be tested and isolate until they get the results. Victoria's now had 26 days without a local case here. Many had dared to hope the worst was over.
And it was always going to be kind of a safe bet, Perth, but now it's like maybe not such a good idea.
Just come out of Melbourne lockdown and now going into lockdown there.
But at least she'll know how to put on a mask, unlike the WA Premier. He's now announced a full review of the hotel quarantine scheme, and a police investigation is also underway.
We will leave no stone unturned to ensure we find out exactly what happened to prevent it from happening again.
And after another round of panic buying, major supermarkets have imposed shopping limits.
Don't panic buy. There's no need for you to panic buy.
Elsewhere, though, relief as Queensland finally removed the checkpoints on its New South Wales borders.
We're old hands at this. This is the third time we've done it.
And with the COVID situation so volatile, no one is ruling out a fourth.
And Laurel Irving, hopefully this border closure will be short-lived.
Well, Mitch, at this stage, Perth's lockdown is due to end on Friday, and coincidentally, that's the same day Victorians will be allowed to go into WA without having to quarantine for 14 days. So there is hope the border chaos will soon ease. But as we've seen repeatedly in recent weeks, that COVID situation can also change very quickly. Mitch.
Laurel Irving at Tullamarine, thank you. The Prime Minister's pledged to protect all Australians, promising more money for the vaccine rollout, but warning support payments must end. He's revealed his vision for the year ahead as the new border restrictions threaten to disrupt tomorrow's return of federal parliament.
Arriving in Canberra from Perth, MPs from the West are immediately separated from the rest.
We are all going to our accommodation wearing masks and isolating until we get further information.
That information, special exemptions to join Parliament's opening tomorrow if they test negative today.
We cannot be too careful around these new strains.
Scott Morrison devoting another $1.9 billion to start the vaccine rollout this month.
Our aim is to offer all Australians the opportunity to be vaccinated by October of this year.
Where are they?
Anthony Albanese asking why the Pfizer vaccine approved a week ago isn't already being administered.
It's gone through all its processes. We have full faith in the TGA. It should have been rolled out immediately.
Supplies are expected to arrive in a week, but batch testing will take another 2, as the Prime Minister confirms he won't extend JobKeeper beyond next month.
You can't run the Australian economy on taxpayers' money forever.
And if companies that funnel JobKeeper payments into executive bonuses and dividends want to pay it back...
Great, good for them.
But says he won't force them to.
I'm not into the politics of envy, Mark.
If these were social security recipients, the government would be chasing them.
And firming his line on climate change, Scott Morrison says reaching net zero emissions by 2050 remains his goal. But hitting that target before then is now his preference. But through technology, not taxes.
I'm not putting on a carbon tax, and I'm not putting up the GST.
Something to reflect upon at the War Memorial's last post ceremony. Mark Riley, 7 News.
The body of a young woman has been recovered at